also going to share my screen. Okay, now with Solver today, the whole purpose of Solver is to give us a ballpark of how we can use products and services and how we can maximize our funds, okay, and how we can distribute money and products in as meaningful a way as possible. So for our first example, which is found on e-learning, let me show you where we are today. Today here we are, working on a budget using Solver and a products mix problem. All right, so I'm going to start with an easy example for Solver, and then we're going to go a little more complex. So for the first one, the first thing we need to do, you need to be able to bring up the Solver icon. So let's do that before we start. Can everyone go to the Office button, please? And then we click on Excel options at the very bottom. Just making sure nobody's asking a question. All right, then we go to add-ins on the left-hand side. And with add-ins, click in the center, and we're going to scroll all the way down, and you're going to see at the bottom here, I already have mine in, but you're going to see Solver add-in here at the bottom. So let me know if you see it, Solver add-in. I don't have it here because mine is already added in. So you click on Solver add-in when you see it, and then you click on Go. So let me know whether you got it. When you've found it, then someone can just type in the chat box. So you look for the Solver add-in, you click on Go, and then another little box should pop up. And with that other box that pops up at the very bottom, you should also see Solver add-in again. You click on that, click on Solver add-in, and click OK. So if everybody's got it, if everybody's done that, just let me know so I can go on to the next step. If you have it added in, then you should be able, oh, please repeat the step. Okay, certainly. All right, so you go to the Office button. We're going to click on Excel options. Then you're going to click on add-ins. When you click on add-ins, in the center, you're going to scroll until you see Solver add-in. It tends to be near the bottom. You see Solver add-in, and when you click on that, You click on solver add-in, and then you're going to click on go right here at the bottom. And when you click on go, another box pops up. When the next box pops up, you're going to see solver add-in as the last option. You tick it, and then you click OK. Now, because my solver add-in is there already, I'm not going to see it here. So solver add-in should be somewhere here. You click on go, which is near the bottom. Then another box pops up and you see solver add-in again. And then you pick it and you click OK. So check with the person next to you, see if you're getting the solver add-in added. When you click OK and it goes in, then when you click on the data ribbon, you should see solver on the right hand side. So okay, Chadwick, let me know how people are doing. Okay, you're typing something. Let me see. You're getting a blank Excel sheet. Yes, good. That means you're going to get the blank Excel sheet. That's fine. When you get your blank Excel sheet, click on Data, and on the far right, you should see this Analysis tab added, and you will see Solver added, a little question mark with an arrow. That means that it's being added. So everybody just do that. Click on Data, and to the far right, some of you may actually see the word Solver. Others will just see a little question mark. So you don't see anything on Excel. You will just see, you have to go to Data, and you will find it. Let me know if you want me to repeat it or not, because this is important before we go on. So I don't mind spending time making sure you get this. Okay, so everyone's got that? Good. So for our first example, we're going to talk about Amy. Amy has now gotten a new job, and she's rented a small apartment. Her income is $2,500, and she's been able to rack up some expenses in a short space of time. So can you start to type this in, please, on your spreadsheet so that we can go through this together? So I'm going to make it big, and then when you've gotten to entertainment, you let me know, and I'll scroll down for the others. So income is 2,500. Income is in cell B2. Income is in cell C2. And then in cell B4, we have expenses. And then coming down B5, we have rent and utilities. B6, we have clothes. B7, food. B8, phone. B9, cable TV / internet. B10, entertainment. And then going with the money part, we have C5, it's $500. C6, $250. C7, $200. C8, $50. C9, $50. C10, $200. Everyone is entertainment, good. So B11 is transportation. B12, car insurance. B13, miscellaneous. B14, taxes. B15, car loan. B16, credit card. B17, total expenses. B18, savings. And then for C11, we have 100, C12, 150, C13, 200, C14, 500. C15, 300, C16, 50. All right, so what I want you to do now, make sure that you've got everything right. All right, just give me 2 minutes, please, and I'll be with you. Just make sure you've got it right. What I want you to do now is total the expenses, please. Total the expenses, and then work out the calculation for the savings. Savings would be income minus expenses. So work out the total expenses, and let's see what we get. Okay, so I'm back with you now. Let's see what we've done. Is this what you've done? You've clicked on total expenses, and I've summed all of the expenses. Did you get 25.50? And then for the savings, putting equal income minus my total expenses. Just checking to see if there are any comments, and press enter. So far it works out that Amy not only has lots of expenses, but she even owes somebody $50. Okay? Now the whole point of Solver is that we're going to identify some areas that she can change, and we'll see if Solver can give us some advice on how much she can adjust her expenses in order to start saving some money. So let's start at her expenses. Rent and utilities, well, she can't not pay that, so that stays. What about clothes? Do you think she has to spend $250 in clothes? I don't think so. Let's put a little star here. Let's make a note that maybe this is one thing that she can change. Food is okay. She has to buy money in food. She has to pay the phone in order to get the internet. What about entertainment? $200 in entertainment. I think that's a bit much. So let's put a little star here. Maybe she can stay home and watch the internet or watch cable TV instead of spending so much on entertainment. Are you with me so far? So we're identifying those fields that we can possibly change. Are there any more? This is probably gas, car insurance. A miscellaneous charge of $200. So let us see if we can note that as well. She's got to pay taxes, car loan, credit card. She's got to pay these, otherwise she's in trouble. So it looks like there's 3 of them so far that Amy can look to see if she can cut back on. Solver will help us determine by how much she can cut back on these expenses. All right, everyone with me so far? Good. So what we're going to do now, remember, check with each person, remember the total expenses must be using a function or a formula, and the savings must also be a function or formula. With Solver, you must make sure that you have a function or a formula involved somewhere. If not, it will not work. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to invoke our Solver. So you go to Data, you're going to click on Solver. Okay? And you bring up this little, this other box, and let's see what these tell us. The set target cell tells us what our final product, our final amount of money should be, our final amount. So the set target cell tells us how much we can save, or what our maximum profits would be, or how much our minimum profit. Okay, but it tells us the amount after we've made our changes, how much the amount will be. Okay, so here in this question, our set target cell would be our cell with the savings, this minus $50. This is how much savings she wants. Amy wants to try to save some money now. So this amount will tell her how much she has saved or can save, all right, when she has made her adjustments. So we're going to click in here for our set target cell. Please make a note, this set target cell must contain either a function or a formula. If you just typed in minus $50, it's not going to work. The equal to. The equal to tells us whether you want this final target cell to be as a result of maximizing the profit or maximizing how much of something you want to adjust, whether you want to minimize it or whether you want a specific value. So let's pause here and make a decision. Let me make sure no comments as yet. Let's make a decision. Let's start by finding out how much Amy should really start saving. Now she owes $50. Let's see if she can reduce her expenses so that she actually saves $50. So instead of a minus 50, we want to put in a 50 in here. And we're going to pick in here value of. So here we really want her to save $50. Let's start with that. So remember, you can either maximize, and the system will work out the maximum amount for you, minimize, or you can specify a value. And in our example, we're specifying a value. The next one, by changing cells. These are the cells that we will tell Solver you can adjust these accordingly and let us know by how much we can adjust them so that Amy can save her $50. Now we have chosen 3 of them, and we're going to click here on the first one, which is the close. We're not clicking on the star, we're clicking on the actual 250. Put a comma. We're going to click on 200, which is for the entertainment. She needs to reduce that. Put a comma. And then the miscellaneous. So those are the 3 cells that Amy can adjust. All right, let me check and see if there are any questions. Are there any questions so far? All right. And once you've got all 3 of those, then let us click the solve button. So we're going to solve and see what happens. Now what happens right away is we have a little button come up here. It says Solver found a solution. All constraints are optimally and optimality conditions are satisfied. All that means is it worked. But this is very important, so take note. If you're given Solver as a question in the practical exam, you must have an answer report. So we're going to click here on answer, and it should go dark blue, and then we click OK. Is anyone's answer report, is it not shaded? Is there anyone? All right, so once your answer report is shaded dark blue, then we click OK. We're going to look at that answer report in a while, but let's look and see what has happened. Look, her savings have gone down. She's managed to save $50. Let's see how she has done this. Remember her clothes, they were $250. Look how much it is now, $217. Look, her entertainment was $200. It's now gone down to $167. The same thing with miscellaneous. So they have adjusted for us our 3 conditions or 3 expenses so that Amy can save $50. Now let's go to our answer report. And this is what the answer report looks like. Now, when I'm grading you, I'm not going to be looking at what you have on the sheet. I'm going to be looking at this. This says the cell, so this is correct for the cell. Okay? The it tells me savings. We started at her owing $50, so now she's now saving $50. It also tells me these 3 cells that you would have chosen, what their original values were and what their final values were. And this is what I look at to grade you. Don't worry about what this is all about. This is advanced stuff. Now let me come back here to the sheet. Let me check and see any questions. Go back, please. Oh, okay. Let me come back here to this sheet. Right, so here we go. Remember, we went for 250 to 167 to 167. These 2 here have in calculations, so let me know. Let me know when I can go ahead. Okay. Now there's one good thing about Solver, and that is if you've made a mistake or if you say, I want to save some more money, you can always put back in your original values and you'll go back to the start. So if I put back 250 here and 200 here and 200 here, guess what happens? She's right back where she started. So if you want to make another adjustment, you can actually put back in the same original values and you're back at the start. All right. Now, let's try one more thing. Let's try Solver again, but this time $50. Nah, she wants to try to save some more. Let us go back to Solver and see how much she can actually reduce if she wants to save $200. So let's change the value from 50 to 200 here. Solve, give me your answer report and tell me by how much those 3 can be reduced so that she can save now $200. So I'll give you a little bit, give you 2 minutes, and you let me know. Okay, let's see. So 200, let us solve. Click my answer report. Click OK. Here we go, 167, 117, 117. That's the answers you got out. So what am I going to do now? Let me see here. Let me give you all an applause. Sorry you can't hear it, but I'm here applauding for you. Let me do it again. There you go. Excellent. Excellent. Well done. So let us move on to the next stage now. So now that you've got this here, well done. Proud of this class. So let's move on to the next example now. So we started with something simple. You can use this for your expenses if you wish. And if you want to try and cut back on something and save some money and try adjusting. All right? Now here's the second one. Can you type this in for me, please, in a new sheet? And then I will explain what we're doing, and then we'll go through this one together. Let me know when you're finished. Good. Okay, so here is the scenario. You're a small businessman and or small business person, let me say, and um, you want to bring in some cars to sell them secondhand. What has happened is you found out that a small car you can bring in and sell for 15,000, medium 20,000, and a large car for 30,000. You've gone to the bank, and the bank has given you a loan, or the bank could approve a loan for $500,000. So your question is, how many small, medium, and large cars you can bring in for that 500,000? Okay? Now, the first thing we need to remember is that solver works with functions and formulas, so you must have something there before we can invoke the solver button. So let's go here with the total. For the totals here, we need to put in a formula. And that will be, no, I just put in one. I just decided I'm going to put in one small car, one medium, one large. You could put in 10 for each one, 5 for each one, but I like to be consistent. So I just put in 1. So this here I'm going to multiply the number of small cars times the cost, and this would tell me how much the total will be. You've got that? And the same thing then for all the others, so I can just copy this down. And then for the total, I'm going to sum them all. So I come to my home button, I'm going to sum them all. Okay? You've got that? Okay, so what has happened now? Now that we have this, I can, I don't need to use solver. I can say, maybe I could bring in 7 small cars. I could bring in, I don't know, 9 medium ones. I could bring in 3 large. And then that's still not enough, so maybe I could bring in 6 large. You see it's getting close, and then I can work and manipulate all 3 of them. Or I can use solver, and solver would give me a starting point. It would tell me for this amount of money, you can bring in X amount of small, medium, and large vehicles, and then you can tweak it from there. So it gives you a starting point. So let me go back to the 1, 1, 1. And remember, this is just my choice. I could put in 5, 5, 5 if I want to. All right? So once we've set this up, before we even invoke solver, let us see if we can figure out, what do you think your target cell would be? Remember, your target cell is a single cell that will give you the maximum amount of money or the final amount of money once solver has worked. So I would think, let's see, no one is making a wild guess. So I would think that this here would be my target cell. So after I've chosen however many cars, types of cars, this here is what I want to see as my result. Okay? What do I want to do? I want to maximize. I want to get as many of these as possible, to get as much, as close as I can to my 500,000. All right? So this is what I will maximize. I will use the maximize option instead of the minimize or value of. Why will I not choose value of? Because I'm not sure when I've chosen all these different types of cars, if it will come exactly to 500,000. It'll be quite odd if it does. Okay? And by changing cells, what will we choose? These here. These are the cells. Remember in the previous example we chose 3 cells? In this example, we're choosing these 3 cells. Okay? So now that we've hopefully, let's come back, see, no more comments. Let's see here, let's go and invoke now, data, solver. Let's see where we can go. So my target cell will be this. I want to maximize. I want to see how many can get as close to 500,000 as I can. So I'm maximizing by changing cells. Now instead of clicking 1, comma, and this one, because they're together, I can select all 3 of them. Okay? And let us solve. So when we click on the solve, what has happened here? Look what we've got. I've got here, I can choose, I can't even call this number, too many small cars and all these medium cars and all these large cars. And look at the total is way above my 500,000. So this tells me that I have got to introduce some constraints. All right? And constraints are an addition to what we have done from the last example. Good? So I'm going to cancel here. I'm not going to go through with this. I'm going to cancel, get back my original, and now we've got to look at some constraints. My first constraint that I would introduce, let me see if there are any comments. All right, my first constraint that I would introduce is to make sure that this amount is less than or equal to this amount. I don't want to go past my 500,000. Sounds like a plan? So let's do this one here. So I invoke solver. The good thing with solver is that it keeps whatever we've done before. So here with my constraints, I'm going to add So I click on add. You're with me so far? I'm going to click on this cell, so it goes in here for this cell reference. And now I have a lot of choices. I want to make sure that this one is less than or equal to, okay, so I choose that, and my constraint, my 500,000. So I want to make sure this here always, the amount of cars I buy and the amount of money must be less than or equal to how much I've got my loan from the bank. All right, I'm going to click OK, and that drops in here. Let me see if there are any comments. Does anyone want me to go over this? Let me know before we move on. Okay, so I'll go over it then, right? Okay. Go over it. I'm not sure what the yes means. Yes means go over. Okay. All right, so one more time. Let me delete this. Good. Now, I've got these constraints. We got a huge amount of money just now. So I want to add this constraint. And to do that, I'm going to click here on add. And before you add a constraint, you need to know what it is you're adding. So I want to make sure that the money that I get when I choose my cars, this amount of money must be less than or equal to how much I've got from my loan. So when I add a constraint on this side, it will be the 65,000 is less than or equal to, and over in my constraint, my 500,000. Okay? So that's the 65,000 less than or equal to how much I've got from the bank. And then I click OK, and it drops in here below. So let me check. All right, so far so good. And then we're going to solve. We haven't changed anything else above. So we solve. We're building it up. Look what we've got now. We've got exactly 500,000. But look what has also happened. It has given me 5.27868852 cars. Now, what does this 0.27868852 mean? Is this like a bumper and two windshield wipers? You know, is this the side mirror? Is this a door? We want a whole car. Want to import a whole car and not in parts. Okay? So far so good? So let me cancel this one more time because we're going to add yet another constraint. And that constraint is going to be, I want all of these to be whole numbers. I don't want a piece of a car that I am importing. Good? Okay, so let's go back to solver. Do you all understand what I was just saying? All right, so let's go back to solver. I'm going to add another constraint. Click on add. Tell me if I'm going too quickly. I'm going to click on add. And now here I'm going to select all these. Look what I'm doing. I'm just selecting all of these here. Good. And instead of less than or equal to in the center, I'm going to click on the down arrow, and I want them all integer. Integer means I want them to be whole numbers. And look, integer jumps over here. And then I click OK. Let me know if you want me to repeat that. So Chad, you can write repeat or OK if you got it. For this one, we want to select all of them, and we want them to be integer so that we've got whole cars. And then once you've got that, then you can solve. Good, continue. Okay, so we solve, and look what we've got. Well, 5 small cars, 7 medium cars, 9 large cars. We haven't reached the 500,000. Notice we're still under, so we could even choose to add another small car, or we can leave this and have it for like landing charges and taxes and let that extra money be for that. Okay? And this is where we click now on our answer report. Click OK. And here we are. We've got close to our 500,000 as possible. Remember, if you want to start all over, we can just put 1, 1, 1 here, and we're good to go. But solver gives us a starting point. It gives us a ballpark figure that we can start at, and then I could increase or decrease these accordingly, and to stay within my limits. All right, now let us take a look at the answer report now that we've got our conditions. Remember, this is what I look at when you are going through your solutions. I don't look at what you've done. I look at this here. I look and see you started off at your original. This is your final. I look and see what cell you've chosen. I look and see what you have, your original, and what you ended with. And then I look here. You see how you've got your formulas in here, and these were all integer. This is advanced stuff for you, but this is what I look at to see that you've done the right things for your constraints and so on. All right? So if nothing else, make sure you have this answer report. And you can have 3, 4, 5, 6 answer reports. I will look at them all to ensure that, at least you've been adding a constraint and you're following every step. So you don't really get solver in one go. Sometimes, like how I just showed you, you start off, then you add a constraint, then you add another constraint. So this is your final answer for our second example. Okay? So once again, this here is very important. This tells you what it is you are changing to get your final result. Okay? This here tells you the amount of money, the maximum amount of money you can save. All right? Just like in our other example, these 3 cells here were the ones that we're changing. And this tells you the maximum amount you can save. The same thing with this. Good? Is everyone all right so far? This is the first time we're trying this out. So I want to make sure that you've got it covered. Now I want to do one final example with solver. So we get a little more complicated. Here we go. I want you to type this in for me. Let me know when you're finished. Since I'm going to remove this so that you can start typing, all right, I'm going to ask Chadwick, when you're finished, click the raise hand button, this one here, and I will hear the ping and I will know to bring up the screen. Okay? So take your time, fill this in, and then we will try and solve this one. I'll explain it and solve it.